Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Carlos, and thank you for tuning in to the Water Bear podcast. So, woof, just some transparency. Had some technical difficulties before we got started, but hey, we have worked them out, looks like here. So, again, welcome to the show. Welcome to the Water Bear podcast. We are live this episode. So, I've been doing a mix of live and pre-recorded episodes. So this one is live, and then we won't be live again until the season finale. So really glad to have this special guest here with me, Kay Sparks. Before I bring him out, just a couple of preliminary things to get out of the way. Make sure you remember that sharing is caring, but subscribing is thriving. So join the Drip family if you've not already subscribed to the YouTube channel. If you don't mind, I would greatly appreciate that. And you can catch the drip every Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And we are again on episode 4. You can follow me on Instagram at Poetic, and that's spelled Peauxetic. And TikTok, same spelling, Poetic, with the number 7 at the end for TikTok. And also go out and follow K Sparks on Instagram at K Sparks Music and on Twitter at K Sparks TV. So make sure you go and follow him there. So that's KSPARKS is the spelling altogether. So want to just kick this off by saying that of course, K Sparks is an Aries, but I've known him for quite some time now. I think it's been a little bit over 10 years. I first interviewed him. I used to do music reviews and things like that, and I still love music. I'm definitely a big music head. I listen to music every day. And I interviewed him. This was, I think, maybe back in 2013, 2012, somewhere around there, about his music then. He's just been consistently dropping, great music. He has a new album coming out that is called Family Affairs. So we're definitely going to get into that a little bit later on in the show. And he's an Aries, and I'll go ahead and bring him out. And also, a quick thing before I bring him out, a famous Aries, if you all did not know, is Eddie Murphy. So he is a famous Aries. And let's go ahead and bring out K Sparks. Hey, what's up, brother?
What's up? What's up, King? What's going on, man?
I'm good. How are you?
Man, I'm doing great, brother. What they say, blessed and highly favored. You know?
Hey, I love it. I love that. That's what's
Yes,
up.
yes, yes.
All
Yes.
right. Well, hey, I don't want to butcher your introduction. I know I gave a little bit of an introduction as far as who you are and what you do, but do you mind giving the viewers and the listeners just a little bit about yourself in your own
Yeah,
words?
definitely, bro. And I appreciate the introduction. Um, I am a musician, I'm a composer, I'm a songwriter. I've been in the music industry for over 20 years. I've
Wow.
written a lot of songs for a lot of artists. I've worked with a lot of artists. Um, everybody from the Temptations for their 60th anniversary record with Smokey Robinson. I wrote on that record, produced on it, performed on it. Um,
Man.
Kid Cudi, Nick Cannon, DJ Envy, Rhapsody. Then I work with a lot of different brands. Like I have over 1,000 songs and over 1,000 song placements in TV and film. So a lot of the brands that we work with are like Disney, NBC, BET, Hulu, Netflix, Monster Energy,
Okay.
Powerade, Ralph Lauren, Versace. The list just goes on and on of a lot of
Wow.
brands that we co-align with and give music to. So I mean, that's pretty much my a brief rundown of some of the stuff that I've accomplished. I mean, in addition to being a CEO and a musician, I also operate Rhythm Couture, which is a music licensing company. So
Okay.
we place music in TV and film, but we also educate musicians how to get their music in television and film,
Mm.
because that is a major slept on component, which is an avenue where artists can monetize their music. So I mean, that's pretty much just a summary of who I am, but we'll get into it in more
Nice,
detail.
nice. Okay, yeah, I definitely can't wait to get into that. I want to hear more about your music, and you've always seemed very savvy within the music business too, which is something I really respect because you're not just an artist out here, sharing your music. You seem to really know the ins and outs of the music business too.
Yeah, I appreciate that, brother. Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
no doubt. Okay. All right. So we'll kick it off here. And so the first half of the show will be kind of more so focused on the zodiac piece, and then we'll transition as we go into your new album, your music, and then your business ventures that you have going on.
Okay.
So I can't start without asking you when your birthday is. I know you're an Aries, but just for everyone watching and listening, if you don't mind sharing your birthday.
Yeah, of course, man. April 5th is my birthday, so I'm born the 5th.
Okay.
So, you know, that's is interesting because a lot of people give Aries a bad rap. They say that we're temperamental, we're crazy. Um, you know, that's I think that's very overinflated. Like I
Mhm.
think the Aries get misunderstood because we're very passionate. So the thing is like if we're really
Mhm.
for you, then we're for you. If you rub us the wrong way, then you're definitely gonna know it. You know, so I
Yeah.
think that's the thing, like we're just very passionate about who we are and what we do.
I would agree with that. And my grandmother was an Aries, and she was very passionate. She wasn't so explosive or in an argumentative way like Aries gets a rap for sometimes. But she was definitely the kind of person that she didn't even have to say a word. Like if she didn't like you, you knew it. Like you could,
Yeah,
you could
yeah,
just tell
yeah,
by the look of her
yeah,
face.
yeah.
So yeah, I imagine you probably are the same way to a degree.
Yeah, 110% because like if I'm the type of person where it's like I'm very real. Like
Hmm.
authentic is like the best way to describe me. So I don't feel like the need to put on or try to cover things up. Like if there's a problem, then we gotta address the elephant in the room. Like I'm not the type of person
Hmm.
that's the political person. And I guess that's why for me navigating in the music industry, I've been so successful because it's like I don't pull any punches. Like I call a spade, but you could do it in a way where it doesn't have to be so brash and abrasive. Because I think a lot of times when we grow up in the hood and that's where we're from, we're
Hmm.
used to aggression and that's how we handle things, right? So when you move into the professional realm, in the corporate realm, you
Hmm.
learn to understand that you got to handle things in a professional way. You got to be articulate, and you can still, you know, handle things without letting it get to that level where you get too crazy and with the turn up and all of that. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
you know, I've mastered how to do it over time. It's been a process because, you know, it's like you don't like to pop off, and then it's
Right.
yeah, and then you got this bad reputation as you know. So it's like you don't want that. You don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be that woman. You want to be that person that knows how to professionally handle business. You know.
Mhm. I agree. And that's one thing I can respect about Aries most, and not to make a generalization about the signs, but I will say most Aries, they have a way of being very direct, but without blowing up. And for me, like my personality used to be, and I don't know if it's so much an Aquarius thing or not, but it's just I've just been like this. Um, I would let a lot of things slide, or I would think I was letting it slide. And then, I was good at being tactful in the moment until I blow up. And then it's like, I mean, there's nothing you can say. There's nothing, because at that point, I'm calculating all of the things that have, ticked me off to this point. So I like that in Aries, I feel like probably doesn't have issues bottling things in, because I feel like you pretty much gonna let people know, right off the rip how you feel.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you can't control it. Like if you're a true
Hmm.
Aries, right? Because if you're a true Aries, like you just feel it inside you. It's like, yo, let's go, right? It's like it
Right.
can't be any of
Hmm.
that political stuff. It's like this is what it is. This is what needs to be fixed. What are we doing about it moving forward? And I think that's what helps too, because you made a good point. A lot of times, I think people they hold things in, and then it's
Hmm.
kind of almost like shaking up a soda bottle, right? You get all that
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
then it's like the thing that sets you off, the person is looking at you like, yo, it wasn't even that serious.
Right.
Like,
Right.
yo, you did this and this and this. And they're like, yo, you still holding on to that? So yeah,
Hmm.
it's like, you know, I'm very good at like handling things in the moment. So I'm not the type of person where most of the time, like where it'll be like I'm regurgitating things,
Hmm.
unless there's a method to my madness, because I'm very I'm very strategic. So I'm always like
Mm,
strategy over emotion. Like that's just me, right? So
mm,
I mean, even if someone is like lying to me, and I can intentionally, I understand that they're lying to me. I might not call them out on it in that very moment. I'll just take mental inventory and be like, all right, they played themselves. Because it might
mm.
not be that serious in that moment
Right.
until, if you deal with those types of people where they constantly want to berate you and tell you blah, 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 all the things you're not doing till it gets to that point where it's like, all right, well, check this out. It's not that serious, but since you want to make it that serious, let's talk about you. You know what I'm saying? And here's the receipt. You
Right.
feel me? Like, yo, you want to do this? Let's do this. Let's talk about your inconsistencies and who
Right.
you are as a person, right? But like I said, most of the time, like I just get it out the way because that's just me. I gotta, you know what I mean? I gotta let
Mhm.
it go.
Yeah. And that what you just described, that's a very, and I think Aries do that too. It's kind of similar to Aquarius even too. I think that Aquarius people are always kind of like taking mental notes, maybe observing a lot of things, maybe not saying a lot of things that they see. And as I look back on it, all of the Aries I know, they're like that too. Very observant. Um, and like you say, maybe not call you out on your lie in the moment, but at that
Mhm.
time, the right time, they will.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And you got to do that with some people too, because sometimes if you call people out in that moment, then they'll realize that you're actually cognizant of their
Mm,
nonsense, and they might try to
mhm.
shift. So,
Right.
you never want to show your hand. You never want to expose what you're onto. You just want to give it time and see, all right, maybe this person is maybe this is a one off, or maybe this is truly their character and who they are, right? So let's give it time and let's see how it plays out.
Right. Right. That's true. That's true. Okay. All right. So one of the things I'm doing this season, I have several questions that I've been asking everybody just for season 5. So one question I have for you, in terms of Aries, and this is called "I Got 5" on it. So I know you've alluded to this a little bit already, but what are 5 words that you would give to describe in Aries?
And Aries, okay, I would say, wow, this is a great question, man.
Oh,
It's
thank you.
crazy. Sidebar. I've done so many interviews, man, over the years, and
Uh-huh.
no one asked me that question. So that's a great question, man.
Oh, hey, okay, but that's a good thing.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So I would say assertive,
Okay.
um,
Mhm.
confident, um, analytical, because we analyze things.
Mm,
Um, I would say bold, very
mhm.
bold. Um, and I would say um, fearless. Fearless.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Okay, I love that.
it's crazy because that's how I was as a kid. Like I grew up in a very tough neighborhood, and just as a kid, like things didn't like we just saw crazy stuff. But it's like never was fearful. Like we were like little kids, and like we were playing ball in like South Jamaica Queens, during the
Mm.
crack era. And people were
Right.
just dying, and it was like, you could be playing ball in the park and someone pull up and they just dump a body out the trunk of a car and it's peel
Mm.
off. And that was like life, right? But it was
Right,
like
right.
for us, it was just regular stuff. Like it's like it's hard to explain, but you kind of become like numb to it because you see it so much.
Mhm.
So like being an Aries, having that personality, but then growing up in that environment too, attributed to that too. So it's like I'm never fearful. Like a lot of times people have these situations and they're so afraid, but that it doesn't move me. You
Right.
know.
That's a great quality to have. And I think too, you bring up a good point because that's why I've said on this show several times that, even though I do feel like there are certain similarities and characteristics that each individual sign shares,
Hmm.
but I also think it's so much more than that. Like it depends on, you could even take it as far as the zodiac signs of your parents, how that influences you,
Yes.
um, your environment, like you said,
Yeah.
those things shape some of your characteristics. And then plus, if you already have that as an innate trait for that sign, then I feel like it just kind of magnifies it.
Yeah. That's a fact, man. It kind of boils down to what they say, right? Nature versus nurture.
Right.
So,
Right.
how much is innate genetically and then how much is environmental. So that's a fact.
Right. Right. I agree. Okay. And so I know, and I had made a kind of made a reel of this yesterday, and I don't know if you saw the interview, and I can't remember what her sign is. I think she's a Sagittarius. Now that I think about it, Monique,
Mhm.
the comedian, but she did an
Oh, you said
interview.
Monique?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, I think she's a Sagittarius, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And she was doing this interview, and she said, basically, was talking about, speaking her mind, and she was like, basically, you might not like what I say, but so what? Because you're not gonna beat me up. And I was saying, that's Aries in an argument because, like, I've never
Yeah.
personally gotten into an argument with an Aries, but I've witnessed it a lot. And I guess my question to you is, do you think when it comes to being maybe explosive or that boldness and things like that, do you think that's more the Aries female or the male or both?
I
Or
think,
are there
yeah,
differences?
I think it's both because like true Aries,
Hmm.
like we share the same traits where it's like you're not gonna talk to us crazy.
Hmm.
You're not gonna say what you want to say. You're not gonna act how you want to act without being checked. Like this, I always say you can choose your actions, you can't choose your consequences. So especially when it comes to Aries, it's like you're gonna get what you're gonna get. So if you bring it, just know your feelings might get hurt at the end of the day. So you gotta weigh the scales. Like, yo, do I really want to smoke with this type of person? Because it's like you know what I say, man. I say like I tell people all the time, like with me. So I know, like for me, like growing up, I always had a very explosive temper. So I could go from like 0 to 100. So for me, it had to come with time and that maturity to control that. But I always
Hmm.
liken it to it's like you got a beast in a cage. This is the best way I could describe it. You got this beast in a cage, and the beast belongs to you. And situations happen that beast might get out that cage. So every day is like you're trying to control that beast, And sometimes you'll have good days where nobody tests you, where you got to let the beast out. But then you
Right.
got those days somebody might say something real saucy and spicy, and you're like, wow. And you
It's
just
coming out.
look, yeah, you just that key, you just unlock that joint and have
Right.
at it. What you
Yeah.
wanted, so you got it. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So, but that trait is for both. It's because I've seen it in females and I've seen it in males, where it's like, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it is both too. And it's funny what you said about the beast. I like that analogy. And I think a lot of times people in general, they will people are always ready to dish something out, but very few people can take that same energy that they
Yeah,
dish out.
yeah.
Mhm.
Listen, you spot on with that, bro, because that happens a lot of times, and it boils down to emotional intelligence, number one, right?
Mhm.
And I always say, emotional intelligence is one part of it because you got to be cognizant of your triggers, but self mastery is another dynamic that people don't talk about because I can have emotional intelligence.
Mm.
I can know when you're trying to push my buttons or get me to react. But once I get off of that and I'm aware of that, now I got to move to the next thing, which is self mastery.
Right.
So I'm aware that you're trying to trigger me. Now I have to be able to master myself and my emotions to control that. To say, yo, I'm not going to let you get me in my bag to that point where you got me out here looking crazy. Because most of the time, that's what happens with most people, right? It's like someone will trigger
Mhm.
you, and people won't see that part, right? But they'll see like the explosiveness and they'll be like, yo, Carlos is crazy. He's bugging out, right?
Right.
But they don't see this person was talking spicy to you and got you to that point, right? So it's like just self-mastery to not allow people, faces and places to control you. That's like the next level.
Yeah. Man, that's okay. That's so spot on what you said because I say that all the time as far as the reaction. That's what people see. People focus on the reaction. They don't focus on, okay, what was the buildup that got you to this point? They don't want to focus on that or own that. It's
Yeah.
just, oh, you blew up and you're crazy and
Yeah.
you can't
Yeah.
hold your temper and all that.
Yeah, of course, of course. So it's like, you gotta have that self mastery, and that takes work too. Like
Mhm.
that takes work to be able, whatever you gotta do, if it's meditation, therapy, coming to terms with trauma, whatever it is that triggers you, you gotta be able to master that because that's critical, like in order to be able to progress in life in a productive way, not be self-destructive. So that's key.
Right. Right. Okay. Okay. So you kind of led me into the next part that I wanted to talk to you about. So this is another section that we have here. And so it's called high low. So it's basically a hypothetical scenario that you'll tell me how a high vibrational Aries would respond.
Okay.
And then what would be the low vibrational response. So
Copy.
like, yeah, you just mentioned therapy. And so when I listen to your album, I got to be honest. So your music is always on point. But when I saw the title, I was like, okay, family affairs. So I'm thinking kind of like family reunion vibes, something like. And when I listened to it, I was like, oh, this is deep. And it. What I love about it too was that you have the ability to tackle a lot of deep issues and very transparently, you're talking about these different things, but it's not in a way that feels draining. Because I feel like sometimes you listen to some music and the person may be very transparent,
Mhm.
but you leave feeling like, oh damn, I need a nap. Like it's just, it's just so much that they just spill, and I didn't feel like that. I was
Yeah,
jamming, I was like, it
yeah.
felt like it was just um a smooth ride with like all these different elements. So my question to you is, or as an Aries with Aries in mind, is how would you handle someone saying your music is too personal?
That's a great question. So because I've been in the industry for so many years, man, I've
Mm,
experienced all of these things, right? Because
mm,
when I first came on the scene, I got a traditional record deal, and that was actually through I was doing a lot of things. I was ghostwriting for a lot of artists. I was working with a lot of producers, shopping songs to labels, and
wow. Okay.
this A&R got a hold of a record I did. It was called Music. That was the title of it. And he
Mm,
loved the record and reached out, and I was just getting deals after deals. But when things transitioned from tape cassettes to CDs to the digital era, the
mm,
blog era, so around
mm.
2007, I did a weekly series called Manic Mondays. So for every Monday for an entire year, I released an original song to the internet. So
I
we just
remember when you used to do that. Yeah.
yeah, right.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
we
Uh-huh.
were just going crazy on the internet. So I say all that to say is that you get a lot of cowards that hide behind a screen, right?
Hmm.
So people would go ham. People would really love the music, and then you would just get the trolls, right? I remember there was a guy who he wanted a feature, but he sucked. So I was like, I don't want to collab with this guy, right? I'm like, no, absolutely, right? And then he got mad. So what this guy decided to do was he made a fake name, and every time a song would drop, he would go in the comments and just go crazy, right? He's like, this guy sucks, and don't ever ask him for a feature because he'll tell you no. And it's like, bruh, we know it's you.
Really?
Yeah. So it was nasty work, right? Very passive aggressive. It's despicable, man. Right? So this is what this guy would do. So I say all that to say, like, I'm used to people saying what they want to say, right? To get their stuff off. But what I
Mhm.
realized is that here's the thing, right? No matter what you do, whether you're a musician, whether you're a school teacher, whether you're a
Mhm.
social worker, whether you're a doctor, lawyer, athlete, whatever you do, there's gonna people there's gonna be people that love what you do, and there's gonna be people that absolutely hate what you do, right?
Right.
And
Right.
and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it, right? So once you come to terms with that and you free yourself of that, right? Because the thing is, at the end of the day, is like I'm able to sleep at night and walk with so much confidence because I know that I'm authentic. Like I'm a real person. So I don't put on, right? It's like
Right.
everything in my music is real. Everything that I say is real. I stand on it. You know, that's my life, right? So at the end of the day, it's like, you know, if someone says, oh, it's too real or it's too personal, that's cool. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not your cup of tea, right? Hey,
Yeah.
guess what? At the end of the day, I don't like everything either, right? You know, if someone gives me some Indian food, I don't like it, right? It's just not my cup of tea. You know what I'm saying? It ain't my cup of tea. Look,
Right, right.
you give me some soul food, you give me some fried catfish, some fried whiting, some collard green. That's me all day. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? I can't, you know, like I can't be mad, you know, because people be like, yo, this ain't for me. That's cool. Listen, live and
Right.
let live, man. You know what I'm saying? Like if you love it, God bless. If you don't love it, God bless. You know, that's just
Right,
how
right.
it is, man. You know?
No, that's true. Okay,
Yeah.
so now I'm curious. So I guess the situation where you were saying the guy wanted the feature and he was
Oh, he
bugging out
bad,
because you
man.
said no. So
Yeah.
how do you handle something like that? Like how do you, if it's somebody that comes to you for a feature and they're whack, how do you say no, I'm good? Or like,
Yeah, I just let him know. I say, hey, listen, you know, respectfully, man, yo, much love, man. God bless on your journey. You know what I'm saying? And that's it, man. Like, you know, because the thing is, people take it personal, you know, and
right.
it's crazy because the era I grew up on is like you actually have to rap. Like you know, this new stuff, the
Mhm.
mumble rap, and then people throwing the auto tune on it.
Yeah.
Listen, respectfully, that's not hip hop to me. You know,
Mhm.
like I like to understand what you're saying. I want to know your ability to put a noun and a verb together. I want you to be able to challenge me, you know, musically or just
Yeah.
make it make sense, you know. And I feel like nowadays it's just a lot of garbage, you know, they putting out there. People can put a song on TikTok, it blows up and goes viral, and the labels put millions of dollars behind this, you know, and they push this
Right.
agenda. I mean, what happens? Because children are so impressionable and they want to get in the music industry, then what do? You know, everybody now wants to sound like this artist, you know? Like
Right.
I heard some young girls rapping and they sounded like Ice Spice, you know, like they were using the
Oh.
flow and that cadence, right? And I'm like,
Mhm.
wow, I'm like, you know, be yourself, you know, be original, be yourself, you know, like that's important.
Mhm.
You know, don't try to chase trends because the trends are gonna change, you know. And I always look at like Marshall and I look at Kanye, right? I'm like, hey, if Marshall Mathers would have came out chasing trends, talking about, you know,
Yeah.
big gold chains and Mercedes Benz, you know, we would
Mhm.
have never had the great musician that he is. Same thing with Kanye. You know, who would have thought that a guy coming out rocking polo and talking about dropping out of college would be so
So
successful, right? Or
right.
talking about
Mhm.
sports. So you know, you got to blaze your own trail. You know, you can't chase the trends. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, I agree. And that was one thing I really loved about your album too, is that I could, like you said, I could understand all the lyrics. I feel like you were in your own lane. I feel like now one thing I love about East Coast rappers is I feel like there is a certain vibe or there's a certain storytelling element
Yeah. Yeah.
that's
Definitely.
there that you don't really get anywhere else or any other region. So I felt like that was there, but it was in a way where it was you. I didn't feel like you were trying to sound like, anybody else.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Definitely, man. And I love telling stories with my music because it's like, you know, I feel that, you know, not to get too deep, but I feel like music is spiritual, right? I'm a spiritual
It
person.
is.
Right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I grew up in church. My mother always brought me and my brother to church. You know, God rest her soul, God rest my brother's soul. But we grew up in Pentecostal church.
Okay.
And in church, you know, it was very like, you know, very spiritual. You know, like your faith dictates the trajectory for your life.
Mhm.
So, you know, how you believe, how things can manifest, being positive, not harping on negativity, right? So, you know, that basically bleeds through my music. You know, people can tell that I have a spiritual pulse. People can tell
Right.
that, you know, I take music seriously. People can tell that I'm talking about my life. And that's great when people can make a connection. You know, like when I did Father's Day for this whole record was very therapeutic, you know, because it's basically like an audio therapy session, right? And
Yes, that's what
you
it
see
felt
what I'm
like.
saying? And
Mhm.
it's like for, you know, like, cause you, a couple other people, like, you know, they got it before it came out. And, you know, they were telling me like, yo, bro, that's crazy. Like, my father's a narcissist, or my aunt is a narcissist, my mom is a narcissist. Like, and yo, it's crazy, like hearing this. So to me, that's what means the most, right? Like making that connection with people. And
Mhm.
then in turn, the music becomes therapeutic for them. You know, when they play it, how many times, you know, you play music and it's therapeutic for you, right? So
Yep.
I feel that that's what it is. It's like, it's a spiritual connection to help people in some way, you know?
Right. Right. I agree. Yeah, I totally agree with that. And it's your music, you can tell that you're spiritual and you don't have to say it. Like I didn't feel like you preached that during your album, but like you said, there was a way where you just felt that that's what it was, that that you're a spiritual person. Um so okay, so I have I guess a two-part question for your album and your process. So when you mentioned that it was therapeutic for you, did you or have you gone to therapy, or is it more so uh, the music is your therapy? Because I could imagine the music might be enough. I don't know. I mean, I've just
Yeah.
recently started
Right.
doing
So you know
therapy,
what's
but
crazy, man? So for years, music was my soul therapy because like
mm,
growing up in our communities, like we don't talk enough about mental health. We don't talk enough about therapy. And
right,
when therapy comes up, it's almost like the butt of a joke, right? It's like, man, you ain't crazy, man. You don't need therapy. That's for crazy
yeah,
people, right?
uh-huh,
Like that's the status quo. It's like, yo, there has to be something wrong with you to the point where you just a bug out, right? And you're taking
right,
medication, right? Where you need therapy
hmm,
to kind of correlate with that. And as you get older and you mature, you realize it's like there's nothing wrong with therapy. Like
mm,
there's nothing wrong with having a professional ear to talk about trauma because especially in our communities, we deal with a lot of trauma, whether we like to acknowledge it or not, especially people of color. You know, let's call it spade a
hmm,
spade. When we
yeah,
see
that's true.
domestic violence, when we see chronic substance abuse, then you add on the layer of racism, right? We're dealing with
Hmm.
systemic racism. We're dealing with brutality in our communities. We're dealing with gang violence. We have all of these things that we're combating, right? So it's like, you know, there's nothing wrong with having a professional ear to deal with it. Because yeah, you can talk to your friends, you can talk to your homeboys, your homegirls. Guess what? At the end of the day, it feels good in the moment, but that's like Stevie Wonder talking to Ray Charles. You both are blind, trying to trying to figure it out,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So it helps when you got a professional ear that can say, hey, you know what? All right, you know, this is your space dedicated, you know, on a bi-weekly basis, whatever, to talk about all the things that ail you and, you know, where you're going, you know, and to make sense of it. So initially, music was the only outlet. Like me and my friends, that's what they had, you know, like just music. But
hmm,
then as I progressed and got older, yeah, certainly, man, went to therapy. Um, and still do. Like, you know, it's great
yeah,
to have a professional ear where you can talk to these things about because you start to break down generational curses and generational trauma. And when you're in it, you don't understand it, right? Because it becomes normalized. It's like, yo, you know, that's just how my dad was, you know, but
right.
it's fine, you know, because and we
Mhm,
don't realize that we're normalizing these things. We're normalizing this dysfunction. Oh, but it's
mhm,
cool because that's how his dad was, and that's how his dad. But is it really cool?
right.
You know, is it
Mhm,
generational trauma? Is it generational curses? His daddy did what his daddy did because they ain't know no better. So when do we come to a point in the space and place where we grow as people, right? You
mhm,
know, so that's the great thing about therapy is that you're able to recognize these things and you have a professional ear that can break these things down in a professional way and you can be progressive, you know, because that's important. It's like you don't want to repeat that same trauma, especially for your children, you know,
right.
like you want them to see better, you want them to be better and do better. So yeah, man. So to answer your question, which was a great question, yeah,
Thank you.
initially it was just the music and then progressed to professional therapy.
Got you. Got you. Okay. Okay. And then was it And I imagine maybe the answer is no, but I still want to ask it anyway. Did you feel at some point before you release the music, or now we're on the eve because now everybody will hear it tomorrow?
Mhm.
Um, did you ever feel like, "Ooh, did I say too much? Did you ever feel like this moment of regret as far as like some of the things you talked about? Like Father's Day is one of my favorite tracks on the album.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, I mean, and just the elements of things you talked about, like the narcissism, things like that. Um, it's easy to call somebody, well, not easy, but easier to call, maybe a friend or somebody you're in a relationship with a narcissist. But when you start labeling that with family members, that's another level of um, where I'll use the word you use, boldness to be
Yeah.
able to call that out like that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, man. Yeah, you know what? To answer your question, I didn't regret anything because everything is the truth.
Hmm.
And the thing about it was that, so, my mom, she she was very healthy. Like she never drank, she never smoked, but then she ended up dying from breast cancer.
Mm.
Not too
I'm
long after
sorry.
she passed, then thank you. Then my brother, I got the call that his body was found at a morgue in Queens, New York. So I had to go down there to ID his body.
Oh,
So while all of these things are going on, it's like I always had a very love-hate relationship with my father because he was so toxic. My
mm,
father really idolized and worshiped money and women. Those were his two gods, and he
mm,
would stop at no lengths to either get a new girlfriend, put him up in the house, or get money from whoever he could get money from. So I knew
mm,
these things about him, but after my mother passed and my brother passed, and now I have a daughter that I'm raising, I kind of like, for lack of better words, I shrunk myself to accommodate this relationship. I felt like, well, my daughter should have a relationship with him. Let me put
mm,
things to the side for the greater good, or at least I thought it was. And then a lot of things transitioned over time, which made me realize that no, I'm holding on to something that's garbage, and I think a lot of people do that. It's like based upon titles, right? So they'll say, well, that's my mom, that's my dad, that's my aunt, that's my brother, that's my sister. But it's important for people to realize is that you need to strip everyone in your life of their title. And that's important because titles create an emotional attachment, and as a result of that, we do things off of emotion. So, perfect example, my
mm,
father came to me 3 years ago and he says, hey, son, I need to borrow $20,000 from you, 30 grand, whatever. I'm gonna pay it back, whatever. Now, if a stranger in the street came to me and asked me for 20, 30 grand, I'd be like, you're bugging, right?
right. How dare you even ask me?
You're bugging. You're bugging, right?
Right.
But because it was my father and I'm looking at him
Mm,
in this way,
mhm,
right? I said, okay, I'm gonna help you out, yeah, as I would any of my friends or whatever, right? But here we are, 3 years removed. The guy hasn't paid back a dime, and he doesn't want to pay it back. He's made that very
mm.
clear,
Oh,
right?
wow.
So the reality of it is that, if I were to strip him of that title in that moment, I never would have loaned him the money because now I'm
Mm,
not looking at you as my father. This is a business transaction at this point,
mhm,
and what are the terms? Are we clear on the terms? Are we documenting the terms? What is the duration that it'll take you to pay this back? So I say all that to say is like, when you look at things in that perspective, it's important for people to strip people of those titles because you won't be emotionally challenged to do certain things.
right.
So as I look at how everything progressed, how everything played out, and there were so many layers, people will hear it on the album. But yeah, I have absolutely no regrets, because you gotta speak truth to power. Doesn't
Mhm,
matter who it is, like as long as it's the truth and it's the honesty, it is what it is. People they get mad, but we said this before, they don't get mad at themselves. They don't get
right.
mad at their actions. They get mad at you for having the audacity to call them out on their nonsense. You see what I'm saying?
Mm,
that's where that boldness comes in. You know, you got to stand on truth, stand on principle. You know.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that. And something you said, I never thought about that, but stripping people in our lives of their titles.
Mhm.
That's man, that's a word right there. Because that's so true. There's certain things that I think we automatically put up with or we make excuses
Mhm.
for as people because it's coming from somebody of a certain title in
Yes.
our life. Yeah.
Yes, bro. And think about it. It's conditioning too. Because what are we
Mhm.
taught from a child? Respect your elders.
Yep.
Respect your elders. And
Mhm.
we don't realize it, but it's embedded in our subconscious, even as grown adults,
Yeah.
right? Even as grown adults. It's like, yo, you go to the family functions and, oh, that's auntie so-and-so, that's uncle so-and-so. But is that really your aunt? Is that really your uncle? You know what I'm saying? Let's
Right,
keep this
right,
back. Is that
right.
really my uncle? Because what is an uncle? Uncle is someone who's supposed to be there for you as an older figure. Or is he just really a drunk? That you see randomly at functions. He don't text you throughout the year. He don't call you. But you see this guy getting drunk every Christmas. That's your uncle. No, he's a bum. It's like
Right.
call his
Just
face.
call it out.
Call his face.
That's
It's
true.
not my
And
uncle. Right.
you,
It's not my
you
uncle.
kn-
He's just a random drunk that's in our bloodline. Let's call it what it is.
and you, oh,
You
I
know?
mean, you're in line. That's true. And I think too, on the flip side of that, sometimes we give so much power to the
Mhm.
bloodline, and we have
Yes.
father figures, mother figures, aunts, uncles that
Yes.
aren't in our bloodline,
Yes.
but they are really deserving of those titles.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. Exactly. It's so true, man. So that's the key thing, man. Strip people of those titles and make them earn that title. If you my friend, then you're gonna show me with your actions. I'm gonna know that you my
Mhm.
homeboy from how you moving. If
Yeah.
I got something and I'm like, yo, I need you to come support you there consistently, you
Yes.
my man,
Mhm.
you my homegirl. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's like, yo, if you a flake, you can't consistently show me, you can't come through. There's always an excuse. It's yada yada yada. You ain't my man. You ain't my
Yeah.
homegirl. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah. That's man. Wow. Okay. Okay. So before we get into the last segment here, I definitely want you to be able to plug your album. So Family Affairs is coming out tomorrow, if I'm not
Definitely. Yes.
mistaken, right? Okay.
Mhm.
Coming out tomorrow. Are you gonna have any kind of uh like merch or physical copies or anything like that too?
Yeah, we're gonna have vinyl pressed up.
Oh,
We're gonna have hoodies, t-shirts, and all of that. So yeah, we definitely gonna push it, man.
oh,
It's a big thing. It's a very big thing because I got hit with an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, because we got some
oh.
stuff surrounding it that's going to be pretty big.
Okay,
So I
okay.
definitely let that out. But yeah, it's God is good, man. I feel blessed and
That's
highly
awesome.
favored to be able to create on this level
Mhm.
without any constraints or restraint from a major label. Because being independent is awesome. And like being involved with big corporations that still want to align with me on the business level to assist to get the word out. So so I'll definitely have like a big press announcement and stuff about that, man. But
Okay.
yes, definitely dope, man.
Yeah, keep me posted on that vinyl, man, because I just started, well, not just started, but the last 3 years or so, I've started collecting vinyls.
Okay.
So that was it's funny you said that because I didn't know you were going to do a vinyl, but I was
Yeah,
thinking
yeah,
anything physical, I'll definitely support. Like if you had any
definitely.
CDs or anything, but yeah, on that vinyl, I will be purchasing one for sure. So
Yeah, I appreciate you, bro.
yeah,
Thank you,
yeah, no
man.
problem. Yeah,
Yes,
you're welcome.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
and so and do you have a favorite song on your album?
Wow. So man, I like I'm a thinker. I'm a deep
Okay.
artist. So I like a lot of records on there, man. Of course, Father's Day. I love that
Hmm.
record. I love Come Winter because that's basically
Yeah. Hmm.
me talking to my mom. And
Hmm.
years ago, shout out to Aaron. He's a film director from the UK. So he
Okay.
flew over here to do a documentary. That was actually the first documentary that someone ever did on me. And he got that footage of my mom when she was alive before she passed from breast cancer. So the
Oh
audio
wow.
was actually my mom at the end of it, that we were able to use because he had
Wow.
filmed it. So that was awesome, man. So I love that record. I love Family Affairs because I talk about a lot of family stuff in there, man.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about my crazy aunt, my mom's sister. My mom died, and she had my mom's debit card, and she was hitting the ATM for the max every day after my mom died, taking $500. And she's a
Oh man.
pastor in the church, so go figure, right?
Oh,
But
yeah.
that's a deep record for me. And just the voicemails on there of all my close friends and stuff. Those are like real voicemails that people left.
Yeah.
At the end.
I could tell. And
Yeah.
I'm big on conceptual albums. And that's another thing I loved about it too, was that there are some albums I like where it's a mixed bag and you get different vibes. I get that. There's a time and place for that. But I love the way your album was so cohesive. Like everything, like you said, the voicemails, the stories, like the just kind of the way you painted the whole picture about your life and then like your family members in your life. I was like, wow, it stuck to the family affairs theme for sure.
I appreciate it, bro. Yeah, man. Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, the interludes, man. Yeah, man. So many records, Darius and Nina, because I love my favorite. You know what I'm saying? So
that's one of my favorites. Yeah, I love Darius and Nina. I love Cheat Code too. Is that one is tough. I love that one.
Jay Nolan, man. Yeah, my guy Jay Nolan, he was featured on there. Yeah, man. Glad you did it, bro.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah, I love it, man. Yeah, cohesive, man. I did so much music, man, throughout the years, and it's just a blessing to be able to. What they say, it's a blessing to be a blessing. You know what I'm saying? So
right,
yeah, man.
Okay, man, cool. Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I just so this is the last part here. So I play this with everybody, and it's 5 questions, and it's called Dead in the Water. So basically, how it'll work is there will be this or that for each question. Instead of you telling me the one you like the best, you'll tell me the one you would throw back in the water.
Oh man, that's fine.
Get rid of. Okay.
No.
Appreciate it. Okay. All right. So first one, Common or Childish Gambino, who you getting rid of?
Wow. Man, I'm gonna keep Common. I'm gonna get rid of Childish Gambino.
Okay, you get rid of him. All right. So this is a food one coming up. All right. So pizza or nachos, which one can you do without?
Wow. All right. You know what? That's funny because my daughter just made some nachos, literally.
Oh, really? Oh.
The one out there, she's cutting up Gouda cheese and putting it on. I'm making some nachos.
Hey, yeah. I love both of those.
Yeah, man. But I love pizza, man, especially coming from Queens and Gabby from Margarita's Pizza. So I'll get rid of the nachos, man.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, they can't beat the New York style pizza. So
that's it,
yeah.
Man.
Okay. So songwriting or producing, which one would you get rid of?
I get rid of producing. Love writing.
Really? Okay, so you get rid of that one. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. When it comes to traveling on a plane, do you prefer aisle or window seat? Which one would you get rid of?
That's a catch-22. Because it's like you want to look out the window, but the problem is when you got to go to the bathroom, you gotta wake up the dude next to you like, yo, bro, let me out. So,
right.
So I'm visual. So I'll get rid of the A. So I'll keep the window seat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Keep the window seat. All right. And last one, Timberland or Nike? Which one would you get rid of?
New York City. Come on, man. Fitted caps. Timbos, man. We Timbs. We can't get rid of the Timbs. That's part of our uniform.
Right. I figured I would have been very surprised had you said get rid of the Timberlands. Because even on your album cover, you have it looks like that on Tim's.
I told the artist, she said, you like Tim. She said, you're from Queens, New York. You gotta have on Timberlands. I'm gonna draw these Timbs. I said, yes. do these Timbos.
She did a great job because that's
Yeah,
a
she
dope
did
cover.
great.
Yeah. Yeah, and I put that one in there. I said, okay, now he gonna shock me if he says get rid of Timberlands.
Nah, man, yeah, can't, man, can't, man, yeah. You know what's crazy? Wait, look, I'm gonna give you a quick visual too, man. Look, so you can see. Hold on, see my So just you see.
Oh.
I got my sneaker wall in the back, man, in my studio, man. But yeah, I got
man. Oh, that's dope.
I like over 50 sneakers, man. So you know, I am a sneakerhead, but yeah, we got to keep it 10.
You know, that's a good idea because I have quite a bit of different shoes too. Like I have one. Well, I had 2 pairs of Timberlands. One of them I got rid of, and then the other one I still have. But I like that display how you have it.
Yeah, man. That's a good secret, man, because I got too many kicks, man. So
yeah.
Need structure. Need that.
Yeah, that's what's up.
Yes.
Well, this has been great. Thank you so much again for agreeing to come on and be a guest on the podcast.
Anytime, brother. It was a great interview, man. I had a good time, brother.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad to hear that for sure. And you know, of course, y'all make sure y'all go support Family Affairs tomorrow. So I'm assuming it's on all or just streaming platforms right now, right?
Yep, all platforms.
Okay, all platforms. Okay. Cool. And yes, please keep me posted on the vinyl. I'll be looking out because as soon as that's available, I'm gonna get a copy.
Most definitely, bro. I appreciate you, man.
No doubt.
No doubt,
all
bro.
Right. Well, thank you again, and thanks everyone for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Thank you all for rocking with me. It's now the 5th season. So we will be taking a break next week because next Thursday is 4th of July. But we'll be back on the 11th with a Libra. So we're doing Libra vibes for July 11th. But thanks again, K Sparks. Anything that you want to leave with the viewers and listeners?
All I see, man, two things, man. Persistence wins now resistance. You know, stay true to yourself. Stay persistent. And, you know, like I said, man, just make sure you strip people of those titles, man. Make them earn it, you know?
Hey, I love that. Hey, that's what's up. All right. Well, hey, I'll still be bumping the album for sure. And much success to you.
Thank you, my brother. Appreciate you, man.
All right. Appreciate you too, brother.
Peace, bro.
All right.